Well, thank you, Maria Rosaria. I'm very happy to be here at Oxford to talk to you. And I will talk about open source intelligence, social intelligence, privacy by design. And my question is it possible to have some meta rule of law, something like a meta-level rule of law, as I will say later on? The main concepts, and I will follow this order, more or less, is freedom versus security, the present situation in Europe, OSINT, open source intelligence, social intelligence, what is it? And I will put some example. I will put the example of CAPA, which is a platform that we just set in a European project for all European police to fight organized crime. What are regulatory models? What regulatory models are? And then, is it possible to have a meta-level rule of law? I will try to defend that it is possible, but it will be a pluralistic, non-nationalistic, universal, and ethical rule of law. And I will try to be very practical, going through something called technology. So technology is in the middle of nation states, in the middle of post-Westphalian strategic perspectives on that, and in the middle of policies and law. So technology is important, and I will try to do something with the social intelligence perspective, the social intelligence approach, which is a broader one. Social intelligence is not for a single field. It comes from computer science, it comes from psychology, it comes from law as well. I will deepen on that like that. Is it applied to cyber warfare? I don't know. I don't know. I will tell you about what these concepts means and the specific platform regulations that we made, but I'm not sure whether or not is it possible to apply to war. War has been an exception from the legal point of view, and what I am telling you is now with the new regulations, at least in Europe, war is not an exception. So something like humanitarian principles will be applied. This is called the data protection package, the new data protection regulation package for security, and then the idea of stand your cyber ground versus the definition of public space is important. I think that this is from Patrick Lynn, closer to the individual actor level, taking away from the military frame. I'm not sure that what I will tell you today it's applied to that, but it's sure that we have, from the legal point of view, a problem due the new regulations we have in data protection. Okay, some outcomes, and this is not to tell you that I have been working extensively on this, it's just to present you, let's see if I can do it, the proceedings of the European Conference on Social Intelligence, the third one, just came up a week ago, so, and are for free. So you can read about it and about the concept of social intelligence and models and meta-models that I will talk about right now in these proceedings that are easily accessible. Then, let's start talking. We are in a transitional state of relevant European directives, regulations, and decisions. This is called the General Data Protection Regulation. And conversations and discussions, I don't know whether or not you are aware of that, have been running for 4 years. In March, May, and June, finally, the Parliament got an agreement. These regulations will be enforceable in practice this year. I think perhaps in 3 months, perhaps in 4 months, but we are in a new stage of regulations in Europe. This is called General Data Protection Regulation with several directives and regulations applied to everything, to security as well, to war as well, so to the military as well. The General Data Reform Package involves some rights which are new. For instance, the right to be forgotten, or the easier access to your own data, or what is called privacy by design and privacy by default. Privacy by design is projected to what is called right now data protection by design. So embedding into systems, into platforms, regulations and protections for citizens. I will try to show you how we did it and how difficult is it. So there is no theory to do that. What exactly is data protection by design? We know what design is, but data protection by design? We will see that it's possible if we are able to make something like a hybrid approach, which is not pure law, not pure governance, not pure technology. Something like putting together different things in order to regulate a specific situation. The European Group on Ethics is delving on this kind of situation as well. It challenges the new regulations, the notion that security and freedom can be traded against one another. That means that human dignity and human principles are supposed to be immediately applied, not only from courts, but from all other agencies and other authorities as well. So what does it mean exactly? How can you take a principle, the principle of transparency, for instance, and be applied in a particular situation? We have a problem, either technologically or legally. How is this possible? Because this means, from the legal point of view, that argumentations are not going through the exceptional way. So up to now, exception was the way in which security was ruled. But if we are not going to the exception, what remains? It's something like that we are going to expand principles, rules, norms, and values in a way that has to be theorized in order to be clear. So it's not only the issue of human dignity, it's how procedurally we can put these principles together with rules and norms. This is the opinion as well of the European Group of Ethics, accountability, judicial oversight, etc. But this has to be applied. How can we do it? I will put the example of, I don't know, but we did something and we applied something in a particular way. This is exactly what I will try to show you. I will start from several statements and assumptions. First, replacing the mechanism of security as a general exception to rules by another approach adds complexity to the whole process. It's not easy. Second, however, even in surveillance toolkits and serious security issues, some feasible ways to breach these things is possible, technologically, legally, and politically. Third, privacy by design, or data protection by design, or security by design, or surveillance by design, can be broadly understood as institutional design. We have to build up new institutions, technologically, legally, and politically. And four, on top, I'm afraid we have ethics again. So ethics are regulatory again for the first time in 2,000 years. But that's true. So if you have the new directives and regulations, telling people directly that ethical committees are important and ethical decisions have to be taken into account, you have a problem. You have a problem. How ethics can work out the same subjects that law, for instance. And we will try to, to put something there in order to reply it. Assumptions. I assume that law cannot be completely modeled. We don't have a logical model for law, either in standard logic or there is nothing that we can do. With law, we have to do some kind of models which are normative and some kind of statements that are factual, and trying to put together both things. We have to distinguish carefully models and meta-models. If we don't do that, we cannot do technology. And this is very important. Up to now, I will show you, in the standard legal models, I will put some of them for you, the distinction between modeling and meta-modeling was not that clear. It was not put into the model, you will see. But in order to make technology in between law, policy, and ethics, it's necessary to distinguish both levels or dimensions better. Let's go to the institutional side. I will go first to the institutional side, models, and then to the legal side, and then trying to make the bridge. So institutions can be defined, or what I'm doing, as formal and informal rules that are understood and used by a community. This means that institutions are going top-down and bottom-up. So you have emerging patterns that can be institutionalized, for instance. This is difficult for law. This was called custom, but it's not exactly the word for emerging patterns of institutions. Even Elinor Ostrom, the Nobel Prize, or Vincent Ostrom, her husband, the political scientist, I think, and the school, so the institutional school just put it clear right now, they had two different models. What is called institutional analysis and development model, and diagnostic ontological social ecological system model. I will put some examples. This is the first one, the institutional example for modeling rights, property rights. You can model property rights using this kind of specific actoral or stakeholder model. And this one, this is for the ecological system. One thing is to distribute rights for the use of water, for instance, or property rights for fisheries. And another thing is linking this specific system into the nature. So what kind of natural context, natural ambience needs this kind of institutional distribution of rights? So we have two models, not only one. We have the ecological system and we have the institutional model. So the problem is that up to now, those models, which are quite broad and well known, multi-level, asymmetric model, talking like policymakers, or institutional asymmetric models, as lawyers, cannot breach, are not breached in a feasible way in one single model. So we have to breach both nature and ecological systems and institutions or the distribution of rights. But if we go to the law, the first two models are political models, are institutional models, economic models. But these models, which are the classical ones, cannot be applied to the same thing. They are talking about different things. This is the kind of homage to Oxford, because this is the Oxford model. This is the Hartian model of law, one of the most famous models in legal theory. And you see social rules, primary rules, and secondary rules. This means Hart, what was doing is something like the structure of the rule of law for the nation state. So he was defining legality. One behavior is legal or not, but the question is not, is this possible naturally? How this behavior is linked to a particular ecosystem. This was not the problem, okay? If we are going to the other side, to the states, this is the legal realist model, another very famous model, 1931, by Karl Llewellyn. And you see, it's the same thing. They are working on the nation state, organized formal control and informal social control. This is not going through someone who will judge what is law and what is not, but this is someone who is assuming something like the Woodrian framework of one single federal administration, top down. So again, what is legal, what is not legal, what a judge will do, what a judge will not do. Okay? These two models, these two kinds of model, the institutional model, which is economic in nature, and the legal model are not breached. We have to try to put together these two ways of understanding regulatory reality in order to make something with technology. This is the point. So, even, I am quoting now Eli Gica and Botke, the Elinor Ostrom School, in institutional dynamics, they try to avoid the threat of chaos and the threat of tyranny. So, the threat of nature and the threat of the state, okay? But there is no meta-level rule of law. We don't know exactly how to do it. There is no global state. There is no global power. There is no global law. In the 16th century, there's something that I like. We had the natural law, the Spanish natural law. But this was theology, like political theology. Vázquez de Menchaca, Francisco Suarez, and so on. So a natural law coming from what is good and what is bad, and God. But we don't have this now. So what kind of meta-level rule of law can we make out of this? This is the problem that I would like to raised today. We have the legal general theory up to, so I think that the 20th century, all of legal theories are in this side, and the institutional regulatory models that I have been talking about, with the idea of meta rule and the idea of trust, so the idea of institutional strengthening. Can we make something like a meta level rule of law, that it doesn't exist, and it's not international law, and it's not international community law, and it's not something called transnational law? Can we have something in order to work out specific situations? This is the problem. The idea that we have is that we can do it both. Something like mixing up heteronomy and self-regulatory automatized models. So technology can help to make this kind of integration, because we have an integration problem. And how can we make this kind of integration using technology? I will try to show it how. Let's go to the technological part. Talking about OSINT, so what is called open source intelligence, which can be classified, collected, gathered from the open sources in order to spot one single person, for instance, and to protect the others, or to structure the new ways of doing policies. This is what can be collected about you, and about you, about you, and about you. In OSINT means, open source intelligence means that if I have the tools, I can spot you, and I have your plate number. With the plate number, I can link to the plate number using metadata, all things in order to profile you. Of course, you are completely unknown, we are not interested in you. But if we are interested in you, we will spot you and we will profile you. And we have to regulate the tools in order to do this, what is called the meta-identity level of the internet. Okay? So OSINT, with military origins, right now, meaning the retrieval, extraction, and analysis of information for publicly available sources, is applied to everything. To media, to education, to business, and to disaster management. For many fields. For instance, I will show you a platform for security, a European platform for security. This is not, but this is similar. This is a disaster management platform, doing the crawling of the web in order to gather information and to transfer this information to the right people in order to act, okay? Then, Backfried et al., Backfried, who made it for disaster management, crisis disaster management, is stating at the same time, first page of the paper, information is indeed available in publicly accessible sources and just has to be gathered and provided to the right people at the right time. Well, this is exactly what the European regulations and directives are preventing of. So we cannot do that. They are Australian, by the way. We cannot do that, at least at the European level. We have to regulate the way how we gather the information, because even if this information is open source, legally it's not public. So we have to redefine what the public space means in order to protect each individual in society. What is social intelligence, and how can I bridge both social intelligence and OSINT? Well, this is the social mind. Social intelligence is the way we can model the behavior of machines and humans alike at the same time. So, if we are talking about agency, we are talking about normative systems as well. So something called agents. Agents, of course, or multi-agent systems are programs. So there are something digitalized. They are not really physically existing in the world. But of course, we are regulating at the same time the behavior of the agent and the behavior of humans. Social intelligence means that we are trying to understand the way we are organizing a hybrid world between machines and humans. Focuses on the human-machine coordination, and it goes to what are called artificial socio-cognitive technical systems. That's exactly what people are working out. And this is the structure. The world, the institutions, and the technology. And there are no regulations in the world, no facts in the world, without being plotted into institutions and going through technology in order to manage these institutions. This is a meta-model, and this is important. The meta-model means that we have to structure the way how to approach this reality in order to make models that can be tested. A model can be tested. A meta-model is just the general structure to work out in order to make models. This is important, so the difference between model and meta-model, because meta-models are completely abstract, are conceptually made, but models are implemented or enforced in real behavior, either for multi-agent systems, normative digital systems, or for humans. So I will put an example, which I think that's very clear, of what is social intelligence. This is called the immersive virtual reality in order to understand violence or the violent behavior. Well, up to now, psychologists were doing experiments in the laboratory, or for ecological validity, sociologists were working this behavior, violent behavior, outside, so going to wars, going to field research, etc. Right now, we are able to reproduce it virtually and combining at the same time the reactions coming from people, real people, you and me, and avatars which are completely modelized and they can be immersed in this kind of reality. So, you see there, this is a human being, the third one, this first one, reacting with avatars that he is seeing and immersed in this kind of reality. And the important thing of this kind of experiments is that they are going to the same place. It was amazing. Those are Slater experiments with robots, with avatars, and with real humans reacting. And they were working out the reactions of human beings. So the most important things are not the avatars, but the human being reacting to, for instance, violence, and what is he doing with us bystanding a violent act, for instance. Well, they are coming to the same place. If you see the last book on that important book called Violence by Randall Collins, 30 years research, so micro-sociological research on violence, including military, so including war, you see that they say, well, violence is very difficult, bystanders are always in danger, etc. So they are coming to the idea that violence reacting to an avatar or reacting in real situations is the same. We have, as human beings, a kind of computational behavior, and this is called semantic behavior, which is not really linguistic. It's our body who is reacting, and we can measure it, and actually they are measuring it. When they measure the reaction of the gazes, so where are you looking at? And the body, your body, with fear, for instance. In these kind of situations with avatars, or in real life, that's the same. And this is very interesting. This makes that we can understand human beings and computation at the same time. And this is what we are trying to do in regulations. And thank you. That's it.